Hello, everyone. I'm Bruno Buquerque. I'm here with Walter Curti, my partner in ELT in Brazil. And today we're going to record, this is our fourth video in the series of analyzing course books and giving our not very relevant, not very trustworthy opinion on the books. Today we'll be looking at English File, beginner, a sample provided by Oxford. So this is not a pirate copy. We got it from their original website. And we'll be looking at one of the lessons in the book right after the vignetta and after you subscribe, like, and share this video. So we'll be waiting.
And don't forget to send it to grandma, friends, any teacher you know.
All right.
But seriously, subscribe to the channel. Dá essa moralzinha pra gente, all right? All right, we're back. I think that the first thing to establish is that this is a very famous book. Just like Inside Out, the English File is just like one of those books that any teacher in the world seems to know.
Yeah, it is a household name, right? So
completely,
it's in the Hall of Fame of English course books.
It's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. This is a sample unit. It's not a pirate version. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure if this book was made for Brazilians. Oh, but
yeah, probably not.
It might make sense so because you have Caetano Veloso there, right? And in the beginning you have where are you from? Where is he from? He's from Brazil. But it could be a different case. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is made for Brazilians.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's probably an international book, and this is a big coincidence, just like National Geographic one, right? Of Florianopolis. So
yeah,
we're very lucky with the samples.
Well, this is a beginner's book. It's A1 level. So mind you, students it's unit 1B of A1 level, which means students have very little knowledge of vocabulary and probably even less knowledge of grammar, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you want to supply to that in the first lessons, in the beginning of the course, right? So you start the unit with a vocabulary exercise, listening to the music. Where is it from? It's unit 1B. So I'm supposing that there was some work on nationalities in the previous unit. What do you think, Bruno?
I think this might just be it, presentation. Because these are famous countries, and the spelling doesn't change much from international entities, right? So China or Spain or United States, I think it might just be the first time that students see this. And as you mentioned, this is 1B. So before this, it was 1A, and that's it, right? This is the second class.
Because in 1A, usually you have something about introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And then here you're already going for questions like where are you from, where is Toledo, that kind of thing. So there's clearly work on verb to be, but in this case, you're still tackling vocabulary. You're working on countries. Depending on your group, you're probably going to want to spend that vocabulary, like adding more countries to it.
Oh, yes.
And so on. Yeah, but it's listening, right?
Yeah, and probably this exercise on C, the vocabulary bank, countries and nationalities, this is probably a matching exercise. And we're saying probably because we don't have access to this, right? So since this is an original copy provided by Oxford at the website, we don't have access to this, but I suppose it's some kind of matching, like Brazil, Brazilian, China, Chinese, and then there might be other countries in this exercise.
There might be.
Right? Yeah, I would think so.
Oh, okay. Look at exercise C. Exercise C. Vocabulary bank, countries and nationalities do part 1, which means there will be work on vocabulary and pronunciation. In
Yeah.
all likelihood, I'm guessing, but there probably
Uh-huh.
would. And then when you come back, uh, this exercise is a practice so that the student will probably need to use the vocabulary. Like, where are you from? From Toledo. Where's Toledo?
Uh-huh.
It's in Spain. Oh, where are you
Yeah.
from? I'm from São Paulo. Where is São Paulo? São Paulo's in Brazil. There is that,
Uh-huh.
and then you have to practice that conversation, and you have to use your seating in it. Yep. And then
Yeah.
there is another practice in exercise F. So you can actually do an entire lesson with only
Yeah.
the vocabulary part. And
Yeah.
I
This is
would,
very nice. This is very
yeah,
nice. I
this is
love
very
these
nice.
exercises that you get students in pairs, and then
Mhm.
one student goes to a page, another student goes to another page, and then there's
Mhm.
this information gap that they have to communicate to complete the exercise. I really, really like this kind
Yes.
of
Yeah.
exercises.
Yeah.
It's a hallmark of the communicative approach, right? Information gap exercises. I think it's
It truly is.
great.
And one funny thing is that this exercise, which we do not have access to because it's on page 117, is probably going to be your language presentation.
Yeah.
And then we just don't know whether this is going to be a deductive or inductive, but I'm just like, this is probably going to be something inductive in this book. I think so. But you see that it is so like clearly a PPP lesson.
Uh-huh.
And you're scaffolding, right? Shall we move on to the next
Yeah.
one, the next
I,
part?
I would just like to highlight the importance of this. This is the second lesson in an English course for students,
Mhm.
which I would say are I don't have this information here. Is this book for adults?
Yeah, like, yeah, probably
Yeah,
because
it
Caetano
seems like it,
Veloso,
right?
Vila
Yeah,
Downs,
Caetano
yeah.
Veloso, yeah. So
Mhm.
you're teaching adults who have probably been through who have likely been through English courses before, or have had English classes in their schools some years ago, and who have not succeeded in learning the language yet. So this scaffold to make sure that students are successful at every single point of the lesson is incredibly important for their self-esteem, feelings of self-efficacy and motivation. So
Exactly.
scaffold your way to success, especially with this kind of student.
Yeah. And then one more thing, you see that the focus of this exercise is on vocabulary. You want to practice this vocabulary,
Yeah.
right? It's not on grammar. It
Mhm.
is coming though, right? So they will listen, starting in this could be another lesson, or you could do it in one lesson. Depends on how long your lesson is. I don't know.
Mhm.
But you listen to the conversation, you write down the countries. Okay. But you could actually see that this is also you could use it as some sort of practice. You could use it as a listening exercise. You could do another
Uh-huh.
exercise for listening. But the purpose of this exercise is to be used as exposure to the grammar that is in there,
Mhm.
right? So you were okay. Wow, Caetano Veloso, where is he from? So they want to expose you to the fact that you had Caetano Veloso, and then you replace it by a pronoun,
Yeah.
right? And then you listen and repeat. I mean, if you want to, in first practice the conversation, then you finally reach the point of matching it, she, and he there, right?
This
So
is very
finally,
interesting.
mhm.
This is Scrivener's Arc again, in a
Yeah.
way. right? It's
Yeah.
not authentic exposure, right? Because this is not an authentic conversation, but still
Yes.
it's a listening, and then it's restricted, and then you clarify. You know what I
Mhm.
would like to do with this exercise?
Mhm.
To build one more step in the scaffold. So
Yeah.
letter A, letter B, letter C, in pairs practice a conversation, and then letter C part 2, change the artists in the conversation and practice it one more time,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
students try
Yes.
with
I
different people, different nationalities, but still he she here and there.
I do you mean you would do this after this? C
Oh
after
no,
D? Or
I would do A B C and then C part 2. So change Caetano Veloso and change Lila Downs for
ah,
2 other
okay.
artists.
Okay.
Yeah, like a
Okay.
male and a male and a female artist, or
Yes.
a man or a
And
woman, and then
you
do it
would
again.
and you would change the entire conversation because of that, because you would change the
Yeah,
countries where they're from and
yeah.
everything. Right?
And
Very
then
nice
do letter
practice.
D,
Very
and
nice
then do letter
practice.
D.
Yeah. And one more thing. You see that both exercises are part of the language presentation here, right? And just as we talked about that this is probably a book that will be inductive, Bruno, I'll let this part with you this time.
Inductive, you mean?
Yes,
So, and then complete the chart. Yeah. So this is clearly arc. It's
yeah. Mhm.
it is Scrivener's approach here.
Yeah, and
If you're from Oxford and you're listening to us and it's not, I'm sorry, but it really seems like it.
well,
Uh,
I, I think we can expand a little bit on that because
yeah.
we have OHE, we have ARC, and we have the one from Harmer,
Uh,
uh,
engage, study, activate, ESA.
ESA, right?
Yeah.
Engage, study, activate. Observe, hypothesize, experiment.
Oh, I didn't know that one. Cool.
Yeah, this is Lewis's.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah,
Observe,
Michael,
hypothesize, experiment.
experiment.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we have ARC, which is
Authentic.
authentic
Uh,
exposure, restricted exposure. So it's like an hourglass that is closing,
yeah.
right? So you go to, and then you restrict,
Uh, and then you clarify.
and then you clarify. So the
Yeah.
clarification is in the end, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then you
Not
probably,
necessarily. It's very similar to. It's in this way. It's similar to Harmer's ESA. You
ESA.
can move the letters around,
Yeah. And
right?
that's the thing. That's where I wanted to get. All of them are versions of a PPP, but you can change the order of things. And mind you, you can have deductive or inductive lessons with any of them.
Yeah.
It depends on you. Are you gonna give them the language? Like, I mean, you give them an explanation, then you move to the example, or are you gonna give them the example and then move to the exercise, to the part where they work out the meaning? The thing is, you did not tell them what he, she, it is. You just you and it's beautifully done here because you have images. So you're matching images to the word, and then when you work, you go from the pronoun because you're reaching verb to be. That's the goal. The target language is this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the target language, the TL is this, right? So you elicit it, and then you're moving here.
Yeah. And they make it so ridiculously obvious for students to find out, right? Like
Yeah.
you have a man, a woman, and a tree. So it's
Yeah, like
clearly obvious that we're talking about something else, right?
but I mean, it's something just like you said. You have students who tried learning English for like many years. They couldn't for whatever reason. And then you have a piece of material here that I think is just like, I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will add this, that you might want to do something without this. Maybe or maybe it is just too easy in some cases, or maybe give an example in a different case, like instead of having you aren't, I will have it isn't in there, and then you have different examples, but
Yeah.
or maybe you could do the interrogative part in here too, because chances are the students have been exposed to this kind of language. You have to know your group again, right?
I think the way it's designed there, it's so
Yeah.
beautifully designed that I
Yeah.
expect them to do something similar, similarly beautiful like that for the interrogative form. I
Hmm.
wouldn't spoil it
Yeah.
there.
And
Yeah.
then we have something very,
Just so
very.
that we I think it's noteworthy. When we say that ESA, OHE, and ARC are PPP, I think what we mean is that they are developments of the PPP. Otherwise, Harmer Lewis and
Yeah,
Scrivener
they'll
would be
kill
paying
us. Yeah.
Walter a visit.
Yeah, that's not what I mean. I mean, let's say there are improvements
Yeah.
to a PPP lesson.
Yeah.
However, you could say that some of them would be closer to a TTT, to test,
Oh yeah.
teach, test. So yeah, possibilities. Then you have work on pronunciation, and this is nice because it's using the IPA, right, Bruno? Then
Yeah.
you have the
I think first, before we move to this second page, I think page 8 is a lesson, right, Walter?
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
It ends there.
I think it could even be two.
Really?
I you if you choose to do like
Vocabulary and then grammar.
how many, it depends on
Yeah.
how long your lesson is. If you have a 1 hour lesson and you want to do like 2 control practices with the vocabulary, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
And
True.
I had a group years ago. I had a group of uh they were like in their 60s, and these were people who had, they were well off, so they traveled a lot, and they were
Nice.
studying English. They wanted to study English, and but they wanted things to go on a very slow pace. I would do a disappearing dialogue with this,
Uh-huh.
at some point. So this would take a while. You could do it in 2 lessons,
Yeah.
really.
Agreed. Yeah. And
Yep.
then page 9 is a new lesson.
Mm-hmm. Listening and speaking, right? However, we cannot ignore this part. I would include it somewhere in the lesson, right? Or
But
depends.
yeah, Walter, here's a challenge. Because it's very easy to begin a class on vocabulary,
Uh-huh.
right? So on page 8, we have vocabulary and then grammar. So it's easy to start a lesson like that. Thinking here, because we don't have the teacher's book, right?
Mm.
But my guess here, and if we go to 1A, yeah, this is my guess. Based on 1A,
Mm-hmm.
I think the lesson is 1 through 4 is the
Mm-hmm.
spread, but then you would need maybe an hour and 30 minutes uh for this,
Probably, yeah, or more.
right?
Chances are that you could address this right before vocabulary, not necessarily after grammar, but it does make sense in here. If you want to, okay, I see your point. It does make sense. It does make sense.
Yeah.
In this case,
Be
it totally makes sense. You could use that as a practice, or you're also clarifying, but this time you're clarifying sounds. I don't like to do things this way. I would never use that way. Would you?
um I think it's fine, but you would need to teach the whole lesson, right? So
Yeah, just
it would
following the
probably
material. Yeah.
be like 90-minute lesson,
Yeah. I.
because if you look at the lesson as a whole, it
Mm-hmm.
fits, right? So you have this pronunciation focus, and
Mm-hmm.
then listening and speaking, and then people will use the sounds coming
Yeah.
from 3 um in the listening, so the pronunciation part helps listening to the words.
Mm-hmm.
It works, but I find this very long for a regular, for at least for a regular class in Brazil?
If you just follow the book, you are probably going to address every part that the student needs to know. However, for more experienced teachers, you don't need this, because you would cover pronunciation when you're covering the vocabulary, you would cover pronunciation when you're covering the grammar, and
Okay.
then this just isn't necessary
It could be
if
done as
you're
homework after addressing it in class.
exactly.
The challenge here would be if you cannot cover this in one single class, picking it up in the following class will be you will need gingado aí.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
because beginning at 1, it's fine, going 1 and 2, beautiful. And then next class, what you have to work on is page 9. You would need to include a lead in so that maybe I would have a lead in and then go to the listening part and do the pronunciation later.
I mean,
Yeah.
the first thing to me is that, like, as a teacher, you can't cover the entire book, right? Like,
Yes.
why would you? Like, use the book as a tool to develop your course, and that's what I would do. But we know that
Yeah.
it's not always like that anyway.
Yes. Some schools
Because some,
require teachers to do.
but anyway, Bruno, I think we got a wrap.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I would just highlight how much I like this pronunciation section with the drawings, and then including the
foldings, I
IPA
mean.
symbols in the drawings. I find them fantastic.
Yeah, no, I find it fantastic. I think that there are a series of books for Cambridge materials. They do that nicely as well.
Yeah.
Get the Empower book. They always have that. I really appreciate it because it's nice, right?
Yeah, it is.
And we should use it.
Yes.
All right.
It helps.
Well, folks, let us know how you like it. Like, there begs the question, right? Would you use that pronunciation part, like, as per book, where it is, or would you not? And let us know why, right? And like, subscribe the video, smash that like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, why haven't you yet? Please do it, right? And we'll see you in the next one.
Yes. See you. Goodbye.